Okay, everyone, it looks like everybody is logged in, and I see the hands being raised, so we are good to go. Let's jump into the topic of corporate security liability. And the subtitle is so important. It's legal relationships between the company staff, contractors, and visitors. And when you have relationships, there is a whole lot of responsibility and liability that goes down. So we're going to talk about that because there is a common frustration among security managers and directors when they start to feel that maybe their management or maybe their leadership team really doesn't like or respect the security function. Now, why would that be? Uh, the truth is that security is an expense to a company. It slows down productions, so anytime they can save a little bit of money, shave off some costs, they see that as, improving their bottom line. Also, we're not convenient. Security is not convenient. What do? We slow down people coming onto the property. We slow down employees coming in to start their shift. When there's an employee going to a sensitive item area, maybe it's a DEA vault or something of that nature. What do? They badge the readers. They're not allowed to get in until security department maybe oversees them, via a video feed or something like that. So kind of a pain in the ass, right? We're always creating emergency response drills. That interrupts the workday as well. And they think and talk amongst themselves and they say things like, I don't know why we have to do this crap. Nothing ever happens anyway. So how can you tell if your leadership supports you? Well, one of the biggest things is you will have problems getting your proposals passed. That is so important because a lot of management and leadership folks will speak to the employees at an all-hands meeting, or they will speak to the media and talk about how important safety and security is to them as a company. But it's obvious that they feel another way when they're always giving you problems when it comes time to scratch a check, as we say. So it's our job in the security industry to enlighten leadership and enlighten them in a respectful and accurate professional way. Listen, some leadership would rather just rely on insurance, covering any losses that occur because it takes time and effort to create an awareness and prevention plan in regards to security. So that's just the way they feel. And to them, it's just a cost of doing business. So if you're going up against this mentality, you need to talk to them in a manner that they will listen to. You need to speak their language. You need to speak in your industry's language. If you're coming out of the law enforcement or the military fields or arenas, if you're talking about bad guys and crimes all the time, that was me. And it doesn't work because they just think you're ultra sensitive, you're hypersensitive to that area. You don't know anything about the business. You just have this cop mentality and they talk a little bit behind your back. No big deal. That's human nature. Okay. I've been the flavor of the month on the receiving end of that one. And once you realize that that's going on, instead of getting defensive about it, just change your approach. Okay. And speaking those two languages is one of the best ways to do so. Now, there are going to be four main elements that you need to research and consider when you are trying to improve your program. And eventually, you're going to be presenting your proposal that encompasses these four main elements to your leadership. So they are very important. The first one is the legal relationship. Does your company have a legal relationship with the employees? Of course they do. How about customers who are on site? They sure do. How about customers who consume and or utilize your products and services? The answer to that would be yes. On-site independent contractors, you actually do have a legal relationship. Now, some people will say, Brian, I kind of disagree with this because we have our customers who enter the property or our on-site independent contractors, they sign a waiver and we disclaim certain liabilities, and that is true, and that will be helpful when you go to court. But a sharp attorney will get around those waivers for a reason that relates to the next item, and that is a duty of care. So what is it? What's the duty of care for the company to the employees, and from the employees to each other, to the customers, and things like that? What is your industry? You have to look at your industry, and most government entities will have a labor department, and it will have different codes or numbers or a way to identify the different industries. You have to find out what your code is. You have to look at within that industries, are some products and services, are they watched and regulated more than other products and services? And if you are one of those products and services, well, you need to start paying attention to that, okay? So you're going to have a duty of care. Now, foreseeability, this is so important. This is when a company gets in trouble and a jury says, you know what, yeah, the company didn't intend to do this, but they should have seen it coming because it's happened 5 times in the last 2 years. So you have foreseeability. These are the discussions that you really have to have with senior leadership and the management committees, and hopefully you have a security committee as well. If not, maybe it's time to start a safety and security committee. Again, just like in the previous slide, what is our industry? And then when you figure that out, also look and see if you are a sub-industry to maybe a highly regulated industry that's above you, because there will be some overlap that occurs, legally speaking. Once you figure that out, you have to sit down and say, what are the inherent dangers and risks that we face? In other words, what are the threats that we face as well? Is it more safety related? Is it security? Is it a combination of both? And once you have those things laid out, you have to determine by looking at historical data, how probable are they? So how are we going to get that information? Well, you're going to go through security, excuse me, through incident reports that are specific to your industry. You're going to look at those incident reports, you're going to start tracking the numbers, and you're going to try to figure out, what's going on and how severe, and actually we're going to get into some of that, how severe is the physical and the financial damages that are done. In the United States, if you work for almost any company, you're going to have OSHA regulations. In the mining industry, they have the MSHA, which are like stricter versions of OSHA. So it's easy for us to go ahead and look at those. So if you're not from the US, go ahead and look in the labor aspects of your government and try to find out what committees, what entities control you, what entities regulate your industry, so that way you can start finding out what those numbers are. You have to know how many bad things happen to folks in companies in your industry, and then what you do, what is the magnitude of those damages, the injuries or illnesses. Let's say you have 32 incidents in the last year. They were safety related, a couple car break-ins in the parking lot, and the total damages were $9,000, let's say. 25 incidents, $9,000. Not bad. Let's say another company only had 2 incidents happen. One was a flood because the sprinkler heads weren't properly maintained, and the other place was the other incident was a workplace violence incident where somebody's spouse broke in and shot 2 employees and shot at the rest of them. Huge issue. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are now needed to handle that legally. For the employees that go through something horrible like that, you're going to have obviously the medical concerns, but you're going to have a lot of PTSD and counseling that goes on. So there you can have only 2 incidents during that year, but the magnitude was huge. So you have to have those discussions. Again, what are the physical and financial repercussions? The fourth element we have to look at is negligence. And we're going to be looking at all of the negligence, whether it's an overt, intentional type of wrongdoing, or is this wrongdoing maybe kind of a vicarious liability situation where the company or maybe their direct employees didn't have anything to do with it, but because your company touches the person who is claiming the loss, you're going to have to pay up a little bit. So this is when companies pay out the big bucks, okay? And again, you can have 364 great days, incident-free, but that one day something huge happens. If the court says, you know what, you guys should have prevented this. You knew about it because it's happened to other companies 7 times in the last 2 years, so guess what? You're going to have to pay this victim. So here are some actions. Well, we're going to talk about the biggest action that is taken against companies. I've worked for 2 industries where we were placed under a consent decree. And I was actually hired shortly after their consent decrees were placed. So I walked into one heck of a situation. The first was a pharmaceutical company that I worked for, and the other was a juvenile corrections agency. The government saw that in both cases mistakes were being made. During audits and inspections, they informed the companies about these and gave them a chance to fix them. Both entities did not do so in the time frames that they promised, so the government can come in and stop. They can halt all of your operations. With the pharmaceutical company, we had products on the shipping docks ready to go out to customers. They stopped it. They wrap up everything. They inventory everything. A lot of management gets let go, and then they take over the management and the corrective action plans that are going to be taken until they have confidence in a management team to handle that corrective action plan on their own. So having your products and services locked up, man, that's a bad one. That's a bad one. What costs are the company going to have to pay for? Well, they're going to have to pay for the government's expenses. They bill you for that shit. Third-party auditors were brought out in both cases, both for the pharmaceutical industry and the juvenile corrections. And this is where the government says, listen, we're not going to sit here every day. But we have companies that we have verified and certified know what the hell they're doing. You are going to pay them to sit in your building, in your companies, and tell you what to do. Boom. So you're going to have to pay for that as well. Then there are legal fees that just wrap around this whole thing. So you need to think about these, and you need to ask your leadership team to think about these things. When they're trying to shave off a little money here, a little money here, and they're not thinking correctly, all right? If you're trying to save $100,000 on a safety or a security-related system, that might be a problem, because if something goes wrong in the future and that security manager raises their hand and said, hey, yes, we knew about this, we could foresee that there was a threat. Unfortunately, our proposal was turned down by senior leadership. Holy fuck. That's when the court says, boom, done. What about not paying, just hiring a manager to take some of the pressure off the supervisor, so the supervisor can actually be present and manage it, and supervise the staff. Okay, they might turn down that application. You know, if human resources says, hey, we really need to get a security manager in here, they're like, no, let's save the $75,000. You have one incident go wrong, and that incident hits the newspaper. Yeah, you saved $75,000, but there goes your reputation. So what is the monetary value of a company's reputation? I don't know. I'll let you guys in your committees figure that out. So we're hitting almost 14 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I know I raced through all this stuff. I hope I didn't stutter and stammer too bad on you guys. But this is probably one of the most important videos that I can introduce people who aren't really savvy on what the security function is and the importance of it within a company. It's very important. Take it to your folks. Watch this video again so you can kind of get some of that thought process going specific to your environment and your industry. Share it with your safety and security committee. Again, if you don't have one yet, maybe you should consider starting one. Safety and security committees are great. They should consist of a member of human resources, and this doesn't have to be, this can be an employee, just an employee of human resources, the senior person in the security department, and then hopefully one line level employee from each department in your company. When you can get all those people in there, the ideas that are going to come out are going to far exceed what you could think of on your own. There's a huge benefit to that, and hopefully you guys will meet up every month. So I hope you're able to improve your security programs with one or more of the ideas that were presented in this video, and I wish everybody the best of luck. My name is Brian Allen. This has been